Great. We'll go ahead and get started with questions if you're ready. First question will be from John Morrow.
Good afternoon, Sean. I hope all's well and had a good trip back home, but just wondering if there's any injury update specifically on Tommy Doyle.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Tommy's going to be out for the season. I'm not going to get into specifics, but it's very unfortunate. I know how hard he's worked, and we're just thinking about him right now.
What you've already had some depth concerns at tackle. How much does this kind of place some more emphasis on that position right now going into the season?
Well, it does, and we remain confident in the guys that we have. That said, there's certainly a numbers issue. Let's just start there, and so we've got more practices ahead, and it's an area that we've got to continue to look at and analyze.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean. Did you have any injury updates on Shane Ray, or I think Puna left early too?
Yeah,
or
Shane
left and came back.
Yeah, Shane is he's got the hamstring, so he'll be day to day, and then Puna, which was a uniform adjustment. That was it.
Gotcha. Sorry about my service as well. And then just to follow up on offensive line, now that you've had a chance to watch it from last night, what did you see just from that group with all the different groupings of guys?
Yeah, I thought Saibo, from a young player's perspective, again, did a nice job. Did not seem to be too big for him. Different type of matchup, different type of challenge. As I mentioned after the game last night, 3-4 spacing versus 4-3 spacing along the defensive line, which is different than he saw in week one. And overall, I thought we did some good things in the run game. Some good things in the pass game, but again, there's areas that we need to get better at. Looked like they got some pressure on us on the edges in particular at times, and I thought we could have stayed in the pocket a little bit longer at times also. So it goes hand in hand, and it's never just one person.
Thanks.
Sure.
Coach, good afternoon. Mookie Hawkins, Gulf Sports 1080. How you doing?
Good, Mook. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Coach. I'm good. Other than the penalties, I know you watched tape. What are some of the things that you saw that you didn't see, in reference to yesterday's game?
Well, I thought there were some good plays. I mean, we started off for the second game in a row covering a kick extremely well, pinning them down inside the 20-yard line. I thought the line of scrimmage was established in the run game on the defensive side, other than that one big run. The biggest thing defensively, I thought, was being able to rush the quarterback and cover well in passing situations. So those two usually work together, the rushing coverage pieces you've heard me talk about before. I think offensively, we did some good things as well, and then we were shooting ourselves in the foot quite a bit with penalties, as you mentioned, and you can't do that. And we haven't had a history of that, quite honestly, of hurting ourselves like that. So, but it showed up in the first preseason game. It showed up again yesterday, and so it's clear that that's something that we have to get corrected as we move forward here this week.
Yeah, and just care to talk about the way your guys played and they fought to the end. Just that effort. I know that you were looking to see in yesterday's game.
Yeah, the effort I thought was very good. You talk about battling through the better part of 4 quarters there, and I thought that 2s and 3s came in and did a good job with that. It wasn't an effort deal for the most part. It was a lack of discipline on one side of the ball in particular. And a week ago, a positive is a week ago, some of that showed up on the defensive side with pre-snap penalties, and that was not. We cleared that up this week. So we keep trying to sharpen the sword here and improve as we move 1 week at a time forward towards the regular season. It's a process, right? As they say. So.
The rigors of preseason, coach.
Hi, Coach. I know you already answered a couple questions on injuries, but just a couple to follow up on from last night. Matt Barkley, and anything on Dawson Knox, who didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, Matt will be day to day. He injured his right elbow, and then Dawson hurt his pinky finger prior to the game in practice, Sal, and so we just felt it was best to give him some rest. He should be back out there today.
Okay, great. And on the defensive line, a couple of guys, I know Kendall Vickers and Cameron Klein came in, made some plays for you a little bit late. When you look at that position group and the depth that you have there, decision-wise, obviously that's going to happen. But just what you've seen from that group overall, some of these guys that are fighting for spots that, are on maybe the back end, if you will, trying to earn a spot.
Yeah, I mean, I felt those guys. I felt their attitude, their energy as they came in the game. Some of those were short fields, sudden change situations that they took the field on, and they came out with a stop, right, or forcing a field goal. So I thought some of those guys really played with great energy, great attitude, and physicality.
Thanks, Coach.
Hi, Sean. Looking back at yesterday's game, obviously, some of the things up front, protection-wise, you talked about it after the game. Going back and looking at it, what did you make of Dion Dawkins' performance? What you've seen from him this summer, coming into what I believe is his 8th season?
Well, Dion's one of our leaders. He's been with us for a long time now, and I believe this will be his 7th season. So a lot of confidence in Dion, and I thought at times, he came out on top yesterday, and at times, it looked like, we were needing to solidify the edge a little better, and he knows that, and so that's what we're looking for moving forward.
Mm-hmm. His attitude, talking about it after the game, was didn't want to use preseason as any kind of explainer or excuse. Is that super important in a moment like that, to have one of your leaders, like you mentioned, have that kind of attitude and accountability?
Absolutely. That's huge, Matt. That is absolutely huge. And just shows you Dion's growth since he's come into our building, and a lot of the credit is his, the way he's developed over the years and matured, and now into one of our leaders. And, we lead first by example, and he's done a great job of that, and taking responsibility and ownership after the game last night. And he's right. It is preseason, but you don't use that as a crutch or an explanation as to why we got the result we did. You go back and you take ownership, and each and every one of us, and then you learn from it. Like I said last night to the team, it's an education, and it's only an education though if we learn from it and listen with both our eyes and our mouth, and just kind of shut up and listen, because that's important here.
And one final one, if I could, any updated timeline on Terrell Bernard, and after a chance to go look at the tape on Tyrell and AJ, any takeaways or assessments on their game now that you've had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, no new update on TB. And as far as just the overall Mike linebacker position, I thought both those guys played hard. They operated the defense. They commanded the defense. Just overall, more work lies ahead of us really at this point.
And I meant to ask too, is Torrance, you mentioned him earlier, is there a definitive update on who's won that battle, or is it still ongoing?
Yeah, still ongoing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, I was curious, after watching the tape, if anything, how the corners play. I know you said like getting Kyer and Christian more time was important with them being younger, but watching the game back, if anything stood out there.
Yeah, I thought Dane came out right away and got off to a good start with a couple good plays for us, and then Christian and Kyer were battling. Trey was out there as well, but then he came out. So again, some good and some things that we want to work on, and some of it's experience for those guys that they get through the experience they gain through reps and situational football. But I thought all those guys battled last night.
Do you still view that between the three of them as pretty open going into this third preseason game? Is it kind of like still you want to see how they continue to perform this week and in this last game?
Well, we're going to continue to take it one day at a time.
Thanks.
Sure.
That's all the questions today. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.